There's a whole bunch of factors that are affecting sluggishness in the economy. Clearly, some of it is the after effect of the financial crisis or the Great Recession. Things that have impacted us and continue to impact us are consumer retrenching in terms of credit. They continue to pay down debt where debt was fueling growth preceding the Great Recession. You see differences in people's uncertainty about the economy. Essentially what we had was a shock wave that went through the economy that caused people to think very differently about risk and maintaining a risk profile that is much more conservative today. Businesses, for example, are continuing to run on very tight budgets, continuing to control cost and not making investments, because I think in a lot of ways they got used to doing that over the last 4 or 5 years. It's sort of become a way of life. In addition to all of that, you've had a tremendous amount of change in terms of policy, implementation of things like Dodd-Frank, the Affordable Care Act. There's just a whole lot of change going on in the world around us. So I think when you put all of that together, a fair amount of that is driving some of the slowness of the recovery that we're seeing. And some of it is just the traditional time it takes to come out of a big systemic shock that a country or society goes through. The things that are driving the largely unsustainable path and what we consider maybe some of our core entitlements are largely being driven by demographics. We have huge aging of the population in the United States is going on. There's much more going out in terms of benefits rather than what's coming in terms of taxes or payments into the system, and that only gets worse over time. It strikes me that the sooner we start to tackle some of these problems, the better off we will be as a society. As the population ages, it gets harder and harder as these imbalances grow to tackle the problems without impacting current beneficiaries. I know there are huge issues to deal with. I know that there are things that people don't want to tackle, but for the sustainability of really what are the safety net programs that we have for the country, we've got to tackle them sooner rather than later. I think it's going to take a lot of participation from business and individuals to rise above sort of the narrow interests and to all come together and say, these are things that if we want them to be in existence 20, 30, 40, 50 years from now, when our kids are aging into these programs, how do we have to set them up today and what changes do we have to make them sustainable?